After rescuing Xia Zhao from the burning building, my elder sister locked me inside to silence me. My beauty utterly destroyed, I bore the shame of plotting against my sister and seducing the crown prince. The world called me a disfigured troublemaker. My elder sister accused me of shamelessness. Even my father forced me to marry the one-eyed stablehand from the village to preserve our family's reputation. I asked Xia Zhao, who stood by idly. I saved you, is this my just punishment? He coldly replied, saved? I haven't punished you yet for disrupting my meeting with Io. My heart turned to ashes. On their wedding day, I ended it all with them. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the fire. This time, I locked the courtyard gate. Let the flames burn fiercer. Second young miss. Fengfei Garden is on fire. The crown prince is trapped inside. You must think of a way. In the panic of Cui Yunyao's maid, I realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the very day Crown Prince Xia Zhao was trapped in the blaze. On this day in my past life, spurred by Cui Zhu's urgency, I had rushed recklessly into the fire. Amid the flames, I found the figure pinned beneath a broken beam. Shi, save me! Xia Zhao's eyes burned with intensity as he looked at me, as if witnessing a divine being descend, filled with fervent hope. Though the flames raged fiercely, my love for him overcame my fear of death. I threw caution to the wind, charging into the inferno. I shifted the beam and rescued Xia Zhao, but a window frame suddenly collapsed, crushing my back. Xia Zhao, having escaped danger, did not rush to save me first. Instead, he plunged into the water tank to rescue my elder sister. The two scrambled and crawled their way out of the inferno. Just as I thought Xia Zhao would come for me, my elder sister locked the door. If word spreads that we were secretly together when trapped in the fire, our reputations would be ruined. But where would our family's honor stand? I screamed hoarsely, but my cries couldn't bring back Xia Zhao, who had been dragged away by my elder sister. Thick smoke choked me. Flames scorched my skin. I struggled desperately to break free, but the locked door blocked my path to survival. Unable to endure, I finally passed out. When I awoke, my face was utterly disfigured, my body covered in wounds. Father, rare in his compassion, looked at me and said, "Your sister and the crown prince were seen escaping the fire. The reputation of our noble house is paramount. You must bear the blame." I was branded with the shame of failing to seduce the crown prince and setting my elder sister ablaze. Xia Zhao, however, became the hero who rescued his beloved from the flames. Facing life and death, the crown prince's heroic rescue elevated their love to new heights. I failed to harm others, only to destroy myself. I deserved it. Confined in a sunless courtyard, I endured the scorn and ridicule of the noble ladies. So ugly. Like a maggot. Disgusting. Ugly people are troublesome. She brought this upon herself. My elder sister pretended to defend me, yet sealed my fate. No wonder she simply loved Xia Zhao too deeply. Admiring someone is no crime. With that, she led the crowd into my former courtyard, where my bedroom lay strewn with the secret, raw confessions of my heart for Xia Zhao. Their mockery grew fiercer, even mocking my deceased aunt. Just as expected, a daughter born to a bed-climbing concubine. Shameless to the core. My stepmother, unable to bear my humiliation, suggested father send me far away in marriage for peace. With a wave of his hand, father entrusted everything to her. Thus, I was betrothed to the estate's one-eyed stablehand, a man nearing 50. Tears streaming down my face, I confronted Xia Zhao, who had never once spoken for me. "Is this the fate I deserve for saving your life?" He turned away in disgust. "What else? Cling to me with that ugly face? My conscience already torments me day and night. What more do you want?" Besides, if you hadn't started the fire, why would you have risked your life to save me? I didn't punish you for disrupting my meeting with Yao, all because you're her sister. My heart plummeted into an ice cellar. Cold seeped into every bone. My voice trembling. Then could you at least offer me a cup of wedding wine? It would repay the debt of saving my life. He gave me a cold glance. Attending my wedding would count as marrying me? You're truly disgusting. Very well. Consider it my act of kindness. Fulfilling your sordid desires. On the wedding day, I bribed a maid in the back courtyard to lace the wedding wine with a generous dose of sleeping potion. Only when the Xian Chui families lay unconscious on the floor did I, my body broken, set the place ablaze to take everyone with me. I never imagined I'd return. As father led his retinue of servants toward the fragrant garden in the front courtyard, I was already in the rear garden. There I found Lady Yu, gasping for breath on the ground. Her face was flushed crimson from choking on phlegm. Drawing upon the medical skills I'd mastered in my past life, both to treat Xiao's burns and to alleviate my own suffering, I pushed aside the anxious crowd and rushed to the old lady's side. Ignoring the gasps of those around me, I pressed my lips to hers and sucked the phlegm out. For a healer, saving lives comes first, all else is secondary. The disdain in others' eyes eventually gave way to gratitude and admiration when the elderly lady regained consciousness. She inquired about my name, birth order, age, and marital status. Head bowed, I answered each question obediently, navigating the murky waters of my stepmother's expectations. The old lady was delighted by my docile nature and unmarried status. She promptly slipped the jade bracelet from her wrist onto mine. What a fine girl. Truly a fine girl. She had taken a liking to me. My stepmother was willing to sacrifice a concubine's daughter to secure greater prospects for both the Chui and Su families. Thus, she tacitly approved. Marrying into the prestigious Yu family was precisely the future I had sought. The Yu family of the capital, with generations of noble lineage, held unparalleled prestige, a force neither the Chui nor Shen families dared provoke. This was different from the widowed county magistrate my stepmother had arranged for me. The sleazy merchant, or becoming a concubine in a high-ranking household. As a concubine's daughter with no foundation, surviving within those high walls meant climbing upward step by step to live well. Only when I reached a position where my father couldn't touch me and my stepmother couldn't control me would I truly be reborn. But how could a noble house ever want a concubine's daughter? Unless, of course, there was a debt of life-saving grace. In my past life, when the old lady choked on phlegm, the household physician saved her. Yet tonight, he set his sights on Lin Yuer, the only daughter of the 7th-rank Hanlin Academy compiler. Lin Yuer was gentle, obedient, kind, and innocent. Yet she married the Yu family's debauched playboy. After her wedding, she fell ill under Yu Mingyang's abuse and died within half a year, coughing up blood while bearing a child for his concubine. She was the finest girl. When my face was disfigured and I was bullied by the capital's noble ladies, she spoke for me and shared her mother's pastries with me. People are shallow, seeing only a worthless shell. But Miss Chui, I've seen your writing. Your spirit shines through. Written with such grace. I believe you'd never set fire to harm anyone. Beyond the skin lies your true nature. And that is what truly matters. She briefly healed my wounded heart, filled with self-doubt and timidity, and became the only guest I ever welcomed into my inner courtyard. Many of the calligraphy and paintings in my box were gifts from her. There were also pain-relieving medicines and letters to pass the time. I kept her company for over a year. On her wedding day, fearing my ugly face might cause her trouble, I did not attend to add to her trousseau. I sent only a letter, promising to make a safety lock for her child as an apology. But when she died, my jewelry box had been thrown into the well by my elder sister, leaving me with no golden lock to give her. Yet among her belongings, she left me a pearl hairpin she had made with her own hands. Later, with nothing left, I sat day after day in the company of that single hairpin, growing ever more lonely and desolate. Finally, with a heart set on death, I took my own life alongside Xia Zhao. This life, Xia Zhao and I ended here, and I could never again cross paths with his cousin, Lin Yuer. Yet I must still save her, my one true friend. As for those debauched, dissolute scoundrels, well, evil deserves its own punishment. Madam, it's terrible. The master says the second young miss was caught in the fire. She's just been carried back to the courtyard. Everyone gasped, their eyes instinctively turning to me. The second young miss. In full view of all. I rescued the bloodied and mangled young master from the flames and pulled the young lady from the water tank. My reputation was ruined beyond repair. My father, ever partial, shielded Cui Yunyao's face first. Yet it was my name he cried out. The blame for a secret rendezvous gone wrong, where I was trapped in flames, causing the crown prince to have his legs crushed by a beam and his back burned, was pinned squarely on me. The concubine-born daughter. The reputations of the Cui and Su families were thus preserved. But what awaited me? With no one to stand behind me. Having ruined my reputation and injured the crown prince, I was surely doomed to eternal damnation. Unworthy even of a proper burial. Alas! Father calculated everything, except my unexpected presence at the banquet. I happened to save old Lady Yu, who then chose me as her grandson's betrothed. With my resemblance to my elder sister, Father's mistake was understandable. But my father's scheme backfired. Instead, I nailed Cui Yunyao to the pillar of shame. His rage boiled over. He hurled a bowl of tea at my head. Why didn't you go to the burning courtyard? Io's people sought you out first. For your sister's reputation and the crown prince's life. You should not have stood idly by, watching my father's eyes red with rage. I endured the blow of that teacup. Then, disheveled and feigning hurt, I said, Cui Zhu never mentioned sister was trapped in the fire. Had I known she was in Fangfei Garden, I would have risked my life to rush in and save her. But the crown prince is an outsider. Father values reputation and decorum above all. For the sake of the household's honor, I absolutely could not go alone to rescue anyone. Who could have foreseen that when I sought help from mother, I encountered old Lady Yu choking on phlegm? Father was still in the deserted courtyard, but old Lady Yu's life hung by a thread. If it were father, between the crown prince's injury and old Lady Yu's death, how would you choose? Father's expression froze. Both the Yu and Xie families were noble clans he dared not offend. The crown prince's injuries remain uncertain. But if Lady Yu dies in our own backyard without timely aid before everyone's eyes, it would be seen as our failure to host properly. Having invited a lady suffering from relentless coughing and wheezing, we should have prepared a specialist physician. It was the legitimate mother's negligence. Cui Yunyao's recklessness, what does it have to do with me? Father exhaled heavily. Aligning with a family like the Yes is your fortune. But since you bear the Cui name, remember you share the same roots as the Cui clan. Father dropped the matter. But my stepmother refused to let me off. She seethed that I'd ruined Cui Yunyao's reputation and future by acting on my own, punishing me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall copying texts. Yet news of Xia Zhao's double leg fracture, a disability that would cripple him for life, still seeped through the cracks and reached my ears. Cui Yunyao, having caught a chill, never left the inner courtyard. But to the Xie family, this was seen as her evasion and shirking of responsibility for Xia Zhao's suffering. The Marquis's household harbored a deep, seething hatred for the Cui family. Even Xia Zhao's aunt, now the imperial consort in the palace, summoned the legitimate mother for a day of tea. They say when she returned home, her legs trembled so violently she could barely stand. No doubt, she too had knelt long enough. Helpless, the legitimate mother brought the still unrecovered Cui Yunyao to visit Xia Zhao daily, displaying utmost sincerity. But the formidable Xie mother and the harsh Xie sister refused to accept it. All the scorn, Humiliation and cold violence once heaped upon me in my past life were now directed entirely at Cui Yunyao. Cui Yunyao, who had been cherished and pampered her entire life, had never endured such humiliation. Returning to the mansion, she clung to her mother and wept bitterly. Marry me to a disfigured cripple? I refuse. Did you see that, mother? Xia Zhao's scar is horrifying. Just one glance would haunt my dreams forever. I was wrong. Utterly wrong. Father cherishes Yao most of all. Please find a way for her. The love that seemed as enduring as mountains and seas in my past life could vanish like smoke before a disfigured face. I sneered inwardly, yet confined myself to my courtyard, burying my head in sewing shoes, socks, and garments for the old lady Yu. Father paced like a caged beast, even flinging my sewing basket at me for my detached demeanor. Instead of wasting time on such trifles, why not focus on saving your sister? I picked up the robe embroidered with longevity patterns from the floor and gently brushed away the dust. The crown prince loves my sister. How could he destroy her? If he chooses to overlook her, no matter how furious the Xie family grows, they'll never dare pursue it further. Manipulating him? My sister's always been a master at that. Father still couldn't bear to relinquish the Xie family's power and hesitated. But my stepmother settled it decisively. With the Su family behind us, we could marry into imperial kin. What could the Xie family possibly amount to? She was right. Her sister, Consort Su, now enjoyed the emperor's favor. Securing an imperial match for Cui Yunyao wouldn't be difficult. But first, the Cui and Xie families must withdraw the engagement gracefully. The stepmother rewarded me with a handful of silver melon seeds. Tomorrow, you will accompany Yao to the Xie residence. Though I was aiding her, she sought to harm me. But it mattered little, her blade would ultimately pierce her own daughter. The stepmother granted us private time, inviting the Xie family to tea at the lake pavilion. As she left, every glance she shot at Cui Yunyao was caught by my eyes. She still didn't know what consequences her clever scheme would bring. Xie Zhao lay curled like a silkworm pupa on the sickbed, his long legs swollen and bandaged like water barrels. He looked wretched and haggard. His back, scorched by the flames from the wooden window, was raw and bleeding. The face once praised throughout the capital for its unparalleled elegance was now unrecognizable, twisted into a hideous grimace. Hiding behind Cui Yunyao, I could only offer a cold, bitter laugh. Ah, Zhao, are you feeling any better? Cui Yunyao hadn't forgotten today's purpose. She wiped away tears feebly. It's all my fault. If only I'd been braver. Stood behind the young master. Perhaps he wouldn't be like this today. Though Xie Zhao had lost his former temper, he still spoke gently to Cui Yunyao. Nonsense. How could I bear to see you suffer like this? It would be better to tear out my own heart. Yao. As long as your heart remains steadfast toward me, I can endure these wounds. Cui Yunyao's hand clutching the handkerchief stiffened. Then she wept even harder. But I've ruined my reputation. My father has already disowned me. How could I possibly be worthy of the crown prince? Please, never again speak of throwing me into boiling oil. You have no idea what people say about me outside. How my mother and sister look down on me. I feel as though I'd rather die than live. Her tone shifted, fixing on me. Though we are both daughters of the Cui family, our circumstances differ. She has done the minister's household a favor. She is the virtuous young lady praised by all in the capital. Moreover, her affection for the crown prince is no less than mine. Zhao, for the sake of both families' honor, we absolutely cannot admit to our secret meetings. Xie Zhao's face turned deathly pale, staring at Cui Yunyao, who was crying so hard she could barely breathe. He found himself utterly speechless. Cui Yunyao had profoundly underestimated Xie Zhao's love for her. The reason Xie's mother and sister despised Cui Yunyao so intensely was because Upon learning of his disfigurement, Xie Zhao sought to break off their betrothal. He refused to let his beloved become a laughingstock. His pride and dignity forbade him from subjecting his beloved to the sight of his disfigured face day after day. Yet in the end, he had overestimated his beloved's feelings. His father schemed for power. His stepmother for profit. Cui Yunyao only sought to climb higher branches. None of them could see that the emotions beyond all scheming were the most precious. Alas! Xie Zhao's decade of deep affection was only today revealed to have been wasted on a dog. I'll fetch the prince a bowl of medicine. Today, little sister, you shall learn to change the ointment on his back. Cui Yunyao fled as though escaping. Xie Zhao's face turned ashen as he stared blankly after Cui Yunyao, unable to accept it. His hands trembled. He looked utterly broken and pitiable, a sight that tore at the heart. But I wasn't about to miss this chance to rub salt in the wound. Stop looking. She barely managed to escape. Why would she ever come back? Xie Zhao glared at me with vicious fury. Like a stubborn, ferocious wolf. You forced her. Didn't you? Io was right, you're nothing but a shameless dog. Throw you a couple of bones, and you'll cling to me like a leech. Let me tell you this, every kindness I showed you was just a show. Io enjoyed teasing you like a dog, so I walked you around just to amuse her. A toad wanting to eat swan meat, I'll grant you your wish. Once my leg heals and I marry Io, I'll give you to the stable hand at the estate. I'll fulfill your ambition to climb the Xie family ladder. Letting you. But your leg can't be healed. Didn't you know, Your Highness? I bit back my hatred, feigning casualness as I laid bare the secret everyone kept from Xie Zhao. Walking me like a dog? Never thought the dog might bite back? Though numb, if your highness had only glanced back, you'd have seen the stump below your knee, gone. Surely you know you're crippled now? He whipped his head around, ignoring the agony in his back, desperately reaching for his leg. His struggle was frantic and pitiful, yet he could see nothing. Kindly, I pulled back the blanket, revealing the empty space below. There. I never lied to you. In that instant, it felt like 1,000 sharp arrows pierced his chest. The pain made Xin Zhao's pupils dilate violently, his body shaking like a sieve. I continued. You say I forced my sister? All our lives. Have you ever seen anyone who could force her? Who would marry a disfigured cripple? Scarred and crippled? I'm not stupid. Xie Zhao couldn't bear it. He whimpered and roared, punching the pillow weakly. Madness and fury. Oh. Sorry. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have rubbed salt into the prince's wounds. I laughed coldly, watching Xie Zhao, who was about to strike me, tumble from the bed to the floor. As he struggled and rolled, crimson blood spilled from his wounds. I reached to help him up, but instead pressed my hand firmly against his injury, fueled by hatred from both past and present lives. My grip was fierce. Instantly, his wound gushed blood. Let go. It hurts. I released that wound only to press another. Amidst his agonized screams, fresh blood seeped from the wound, mingling with the foul stench of urine wafting from his lower body. I covered my mouth with a handkerchief. Disgusted. No way. Did the crown prince wet himself? No. No. Listen to me. Someone. The crown prince has fallen. Ignoring his panic and pleas, I shouted desperately. Someone. Quick. Someone. Within moments, the small room was crowded with servants. His lofty pride lay crushed beneath him as he rolled in urine. While the servants prepared medicine, I sighed feigned regret. Poor crown prince. His heart brimming with deep affection, now crippled for life. Yet sister, using the spring banquet as her stage, seeks to catch the young prince's eye, scheming to marry into the princess's household as a respectable concubine. After all, smack. A medicine bowl smashed against his forehead. Get out! Get out of here! Amidst Xia Zhao's fury, I bit my lip in shock, clutching my bleeding wound as I dashed to the lake pavilion, weeping bitterly. The crown prince. He won't have me. He only wants my sister. Every face paled. The Xia family instantly grasped the Chui family's scheme to substitute one for another, their anger boiling over. Madame Xia gritted her teeth at Chui Yunyao. The great kindness of Miss Chui will be forever remembered by the Marquis's household. Chui Yunyao's legs gave way from fright. Servants had to carry her back to the Chui residence. Though my stepmother despised my lack of ambition, she dared not touch me again. For when I returned home bearing my wounds, the young master of the Yu family came to see me bearing lavish gifts. Before I left the estate, my attendant delivered a hand-sewn garment to Lady Yu. Given her dignity, she would surely send a return gift promptly. Thus, I could withdraw entirely under the Yu family's authority. Yet I never imagined the visitor would be my betrothed, Yu Mingyang. As a betrothed arranged by our parents, he came to assess my appearance. If my looks or character failed to please him, he possessed countless ways to bar me from entering the Yu household. With tears of grievance welling in my eyes, I exposed my slender, fair neck and gazed at him with a mix of bashfulness, timidity, and profound sorrow. Thank you, young master. This is the sachets I made for you. I hope you won't find them distasteful. I deliberately let my slender fingers brush across the back of his hand, sending a shiver down his spine. His bones went limp in an instant. Had this not been in my Chui household, he would have resorted to his shameless coercion, the same force he'd used to take countless common girls, to claim me by force. Fear not. As your betrothed, I shall naturally stand by you. The Yu family may not wield the power of a marquisate, but we are no dough to be kneaded at will. He stormed off to the study and confronted his father. The eldest daughter committed this disgraceful act. There is no reason to make the secondary daughter take the fall. Moreover, Yi is my betrothed. How dare you casually replace her with another? Does Magistrate Chui look down on my Yu family? To humiliate me thus, I shall return and ask my grandfather whether the Yu clan has truly fallen so low as to be trampled upon. My father, being a man of refinement, would never stoop to quarreling with a lowlife. After politely apologizing, he even compensated with a set of writing implements. Having lost both the battle and the wife, my father, seething with anger, punished Chui Yunyao by making her copy texts and ordered me to kneel in the ancestral hall, warning me not to report every little thing to the Yu family. I agreed readily, then promptly penned a letter to my dear fiancé. That very day, Yu Mingyang arrived bearing a box of pastries. My father, flustered, hastily released me from the shrine and escorted me back to the courtyard, compensating with 2 multicolored glass vases. Yu Mingyang's eyes shone as he bid me farewell. I'll drop by unexpectedly from time to time. If you do anything wrong, I'll find out. You know. Father harbored resentment but dared not punish me lightly again. Yet he hadn't abandoned his plan to dissolve the engagement with Xia Zhao. He spared no expense hiring someone to teach Chui Yunyao the feathered robe dance, hoping she'd dazzle at the spring banquet and capture the young prince's heart, who was currently evaluating potential secondary consorts. Little did he know this very act would sever all of Chui Yunyao's escape routes. At the princess's spring banquet, I served merely as an accompanist, tasked only with playing the zither for Chui Yunyao. Draped in sheer gauze, she danced the feathered robe dance with ethereal grace and otherworldly beauty, becoming the center of everyone's attention. Naturally, my drooling fiancé was no exception. Yet when he met my pouting, tear-brimmed gaze, he abruptly sat up straight. After the performance, he placed a box of exquisite pastries in my hands. I saved these just for you. Try one. I covered my face with my sleeve, feigning a bite before secretly tucking it into my sleeve. His eyes lit up. Later, I'll take you boating. The lake views are splendid, you'll love it. I nodded shyly. And he beamed so widely his mouth couldn't close. Cui Yinyao watched Mingyang's devotion to me and seethed with hatred. Her resolve to outshine me only hardened. After the banquet, she went to the rear courtyard under the pretense of changing clothes, but accidentally stumbled into the young prince's study. Shy yet bold, she and the young prince conversed freely. From the rainbow feather dance to the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. Then to matters of home, country, and the world, their conversation flowed effortlessly. I knew full well that father had taught her every word, tailored to the young prince's tastes. How could the young prince fail to see through her thoughts? As their conversation grew animated, he asked her, Miss Cui and I seem to share a feeling of meeting too late in life. I hear Miss Cui and the Xie family's heir were deeply in love. Now that the heir has been crippled, has Miss Cui perhaps grown disdainful? Cui Yunyao covered her eyes with a handkerchief, her eyes reddening. What woman in this world wouldn't adore a handsome, talented young man? Now that he's crippled and disfigured, I fear I'd only dream of nightmares if I saw him. Yet he dares to demand repayment for a favor, a damp robe he gave me in the fire, and now forces me into marriage. Such a heartless, ugly monster only fills me with dread. The young prince nodded. So Miss Cui does not wish to marry Prince Xia? Cui Yinyao flushed and glanced at the young prince. If I were to marry, it should be to a scholar warrior of your caliber. Even as a slave or concubine, that would be better than becoming a crippled personal attendant. I watched Xia Zhao, heavy as water in his wheelchair beside me, and the Xia mother and Xia Xingyue, their eyes bloodshot with hatred. My heart swelled with satisfaction. All the contempt and humiliation they heaped upon me in my past life, Miss Cui Yinyao now poured onto Xia Zhao, shattering his dignity and crushing his confidence. Go! Push me away! Quickly! He bellowed, almost pleading with his servants to wheel him out of the courtyard. Moving too hastily, he toppled from his wheelchair, landing in a heap of disarray. Hysterically, he tried to push himself up with his hands, but only managed to drag his 2 stumps along the ground in a grotesque manner. The timid princess was so horrified by the scene she cried out, Mother! I'm scared. Xia Zhao's body jerked. His hands could no longer bear his weight, and he crashed heavily to the ground. So, when humiliating words fell upon him, he too was overwhelmed by the shame. Then how, in his past life, could he have remained so calm when his family casually abused me? Saying, it's just words. What harm can they do? The hastily summoned servant, aided by Xia's mother and Xia Xingyue, finally managed to carry the utterly disheveled Xia Zhao out of the courtyard. If I saw correctly, 2 streams of humiliated tears flowed from his eyes, tightly shut in despair. But the young princess consort Xing had no intention of letting Cui Yunyao off. With a cold smile, her maid abruptly pushed open the door. You've come to seduce someone in my back courtyard? Miss Cui, didn't you bother to find out who the women of the Ning family are? The Nings are a family of warriors. Every one of them fierce. Though Cui Yunyao hid beneath her desk upon hearing the commotion outside, the princess's men dragged her out nonetheless. They pinned her to the ground and delivered 20 sharp slaps across her face, 1 from each hand. You vile creature! Ruining the Xie family wasn't enough, now you dare sully my husband's honor. You deserve to die. With her face swollen from the beating, Cui Yunyao was paraded back to the Cui residence by the princess consort, accompanied by gongs and drums. My father's vision immediately went dark, and he nearly vomited blood. My stepmother, clutching her handkerchief, glared at me and demanded harshly, Why didn't you protect your sister? Even if it meant sacrificing yourself, you should have safeguarded her reputation. I kept my head bowed, my face filled with hurt. When Master Yu fell into the water, I was utterly flustered. How could I have known my sister went to the prince's study? Had I not knelt to summon the princess? I fear my sister might have been beaten to death. Yu Mingyang laced my pastry with a drug, intending to commit indecent acts aboard the boat. Thus, even if I married him, I could only become a concubine. A mere concubine, how could I control his affairs outside? But I didn't eat that pastry. And in the struggle, I pushed him into the water as if by accident. Had he not gone into the water to retrieve my handkerchief? Getting his clothes wet and needing to change in the study's adjoining room, how would everyone have seen the drama unfolding in the study while pretending to look for young Master Yu? This time, the legitimate mother truly coughed up blood. Summoning the princess meant exposing Cui Yunyao's scandal before the imperial court. For Cui Yunyao to seek a promising future in the capital now was as impossible as climbing to the heavens. Yet the Xie family still sent their marriage proposal under these circumstances. Bound by childhood affection and a betrothal since infancy. Could the Cui family possibly renege? A daughter who'd lost both reputation and prospects, had her father not been mindful of the Su family. He would have long since confined Cui Yunyao to the estate. Now that the Xie family still sought this union, accepting this hot potato was precisely what he desired. Ignoring Cui Yunyao's wails and, for the first time, disregarding his wife's pleas, he accepted. Xie Zhao rolled his wheelchair to deliver the betrothal gifts himself. In his elder sister's courtyard, his face darkened as he fixed Cui Yunyao with a piercing stare. I am deeply grateful for your feelings, Yao. Naturally, I shall repay your kindness. His enunciation was deliberate, his dark eyes chilling to the bone. Cui Yunyao bit her lip, tears of terror rolling down her cheeks. Zhao. It's all a misunderstanding. Someone framed me. My feelings for you are as clear as the sun and moon. She finally realized she had no way out. Xie Zhao was her only choice. She accepted her fate, though it was far too late. Xie Zhao extended his bony hand, wiping her tears with a forced smile. No need to be so moved. Time is long. Repay your debts of gratitude and affection slowly. From the table, he fed her cold pastries and tea, spoonful by spoonful. Trembling, Cui Yunyao dared not refuse, swallowing each bite like the injustices she would swallow for the rest of her life. I stood beneath the fiery sunset, watching their retribution unfold. Cui Yunyao still spotted me outside the door. After Xie Zhao left, she came knocking, sneering at me with bitter resentment. Don't imagine Yu Mingyang is any better than Xie Zhao. Don't think marrying him will make you nobler than me. Yu Mingyang collapsed on the courtesan's lap last night and hasn't woken up yet. You probably didn't know. Did you? At least Xie Zhao loves and protects me. That's better than living in constant fear of becoming a widow overnight. Like you. Through past lives and this one, she's always treated me as her enemy. As if my suffering were proof of their success, her and her daughters. Looking back now, it's nothing but a tragedy. The only way to derive satisfaction from the lowly is by proving their incompetence. I fiddled with several boxes of precious jewelry sent by the Yu family, grinning from ear to ear. You saw it yourself, apart from Yu Mingyang, who's utterly useless. The rest of the Yu family are all exceptional. The matriarch dotes on me. Mrs. Yu appreciates my docility. And even Yu Mingyang praised me for my discretion. Splurging on a courtesan for him proved I was the perfect wife his grandmother chose. Besides, how could Cui Yunyao know that once I entered the mansion, within days I'd gain power, wealth, and a dead husband, leaving only boundless fortune to enjoy? Furious, she stormed off, spreading rumors about my past affection for Xie Zhao. Madame Yu, however, took my hand, her heart aching. My dear child, you've endured so much. I shook my head. Merely doing my part for young Master Yu, it's no hardship. Yu Mingyang suffered a stroke. His mouth twisted and eyes askew as he lay in bed. Not only did I not call off the engagement, I even took the initiative to travel far and wide with Lady Yu. seeking every possible remedy for him. Winning my husband's heart was nothing special, but I was determined to win over the hearts of the entire Yu household. I was attentive in every matter, gentle and obedient. Naturally, no one could have imagined that Yu Mingyang's stroke was my doing. He favored virginity above all else, disregarding others' wishes to claim it for himself. Countless women, their honor shattered, have hanged themselves, drowned themselves, or been strangled by their own parents. I came for wealth and prestige. How he spent his silver in brothels was none of my concern. But to abuse his power and harm innocent women, that demanded blood for blood. In my past life as a medical student, I knew the city's renowned Dr. Shuo was nothing but a fraud, a charlatan who falsified diagnoses and treated lives as worthless straw. This lifetime, I seized evidence of his medical malpractice and forced him into partnership with me. Yu Mingyang's potent aphrodisiacs, though remarkably effective, were devastatingly harmful. A month of unrestrained indulgence would drain one's vitality. The courtesan at Qingfeng Tower, lured night after night by the fortune I promised, kept him from returning home. In the end, he collapsed on her bed. Dr. Shui inherited this mess, taking on the task of restoring Yu Mingyang's health. His spirit was barely hanging on, waiting only for my marriage into the family before he would stop taking the medicine and die. It was also thanks to your dedication that Mingyang recovered significantly. I demurely deflected. It was Aunt Yu's heartfelt love for her son, her daily prayers so fervent they moved heaven and earth, that secured the young master's chance at life. Pleased by this, she specially gave me a stack of silver notes, telling me to buy whatever I fancied. I'd already said it, apart from Yu Mingyang, who was utterly hopeless. Everything else in the Yu household was precisely what a lowly concubine's daughter like me could only dream of. My face beaming with joy, I lifted my gaze and met Xia Zhao's eyes. Sure, why didn't you save me this time? Xia Zhao lifted his gaunt face, his gaze filled with anguish. The tangled sorrow and pain in his eyes made me realize he had returned too. I had a dream. In it, you saved me. Sure, you truly care for me. You should have rescued me from the flames. You. Enough. I cut him off coldly. Didn't you say you didn't care about my rescue? What are you lamenting now? Surely, you didn't develop feelings from teasing cats and dogs? My sarcasm made him tremble. His burned face twisted into a hideous grimace as he screamed, truly revolting. Your loathing and their humiliation constantly reminded me not to get entangled in others' karma. I did just that to escape the vortex of fate. Yet you still accuse me of coldness. Sure enough, whatever I do is wrong. After all, selfish people like you only want others to sacrifice themselves completely without expecting anything in return. Right? You ugly monster. His dream was confirmed, and he collapsed. You loved me. You could have saved me. Why didn't you? Why be so cruel? Why turn me into this monstrosity? Why? I kicked off the brake pads on his wheelchair, placed my hands on the armrests, and said, word by word, because every bit of my suffering, you deserve to taste. When it didn't concern you, you feigned indifference, gorging on my flesh from your lofty perch. So now, let the storm rage down upon you. Amid his stunned silence, I gave the wheelchair a gentle push. It rolled down the slope toward the stairwell entrance, amidst the crash of landing and blood-curdling screams. The ever-so-proper Xia Zhao was left sprawled flat on his face. On the street, a crowd gathered, their laughter and disgust making Xia Zhao wish he could sink into the ground. Your wheelchair isn't working well, Your Highness. Tomorrow, I'll have someone craft a more convenient one for you. I wasn't lying. A month later, I delivered a custom-made wheelchair to him. See? It's hollow in the middle. When nature calls. No fuss, just unbutton your pants. You're bound to be my brother-in-law someday. Consider this a wedding gift. Xia Zhao felt humiliated. He pushed my wheelchair over with all his might, then bawled and raged at me uncontrollably. I stood 3 zhang away. Only when he was panting from exhaustion did I brush off my skirt and sigh. I meant well. Even if you dislike it, you shouldn't have treated my kindness so badly. His body stiffened as he recalled those words. They were the very words he'd scolded me with when I'd thrown away the mask Cui Yunyao had given me. Now I returned them to him, unchanged. Perhaps you should venture out less often. In your current state, you might frighten the children along the road. My words, now turned back on him, pushed him to the brink. Are you blaming me for marrying Yunyao? Sure, you were the one who loved me most, willing to sacrifice everything for me. Even when I met secretly with your sister, you swallowed your pride and shielded us. How did you become like this? Why? Because this dog you've been walking no longer wants to be led around. Besides, you have your beloved Yao, why would you still care about me? My single sentence revived Xia Zhao's shattered emotions. So, you're just jealous? You still love me, right? His eyes lit up, fixating on me with urgency. As I turned to leave, he kept calling out. Sure, don't go. Answer me. Such an idiot, I couldn't answer him. Yet he blamed every mistake on Cui Yunyao. He tortured her in every way he could. We were both married off. The sickly heir of the Yu family at least had ginseng soup prepared to welcome me. Yet the crippled heir of the Xie family sent a rooster to marry Cui Yunyao. No matter how furious the legitimate mother was, she dared not cause a scene when her own daughter ultimately fell into another's hands. On their wedding night, Yu Mingyang diligently followed the divine physician's instructions, cultivating his virtue and suppressing his desires. He drank a bowl of calming soup early and fell into bed, unable to rise. Xia Zhao, however, used the same tactics his former stepmother had employed against my aunt to torment Cui Yunyao. The Xie family girl who died at their hands in my past life became my insider in this one. She revealed to Xia Zhao how my aunt had been falsely accused of adultery, humiliated by the stepmother for 3 days and nights, and ultimately beaten to death. Xia Zhao was utterly convinced that Cui Shi still harbored feelings for him, her resentment stemming solely from his betrayal of her in the past life for Cui Yunyao. He believed that by directing all his vengeance toward Cui Yunyao, I would forgive him. That night, the Xie family's bridal chamber echoed with piercing screams. I still remember how, behind that half-open door, my aunt was pinned to the floor. How those instruments of torture, designed for utter humiliation and cruelty, pierced her body. How crimson blood flowed from her lower body, pooling across the floor. At that moment, the legitimate mother held Cui Yunyao close, smiling as she watched me, frozen in terror. This is the fate of disobedience. Cui Shi, do you understand now? I retracted my thorns and grew obediently in grandmother's courtyard. Even when my only cat was skinned and dismembered, I could only grind my teeth and weep in deserted corners. To survive, I had to be docile, to learn to endure everything without complaint. But then Xia Zhao appeared. He gave me a share of everything he gave my elder sister. When he invited her out to admire flowers and moonlight, he extended an invitation to me as well. Even when he presented Cui Yunyao with a jade bracelet, he gave me a golden hairpin. He said, Cui Shi is Cui Shi. What belongs to Cui Shi, no one else can take. One who has never known true love, glimpsing a distant flame, mistakes it for their own son. Even if it means flying into the fire, nothing else matters. Yet in the end, it was merely a grand dog-walking spectacle he staged to amuse his beloved. Tears fell, and I wiped them away fiercely. See? When love is not sought, one gains courage that shatters all barriers. Who in all the capital could be more at ease than I? The loyal maid nodded repeatedly. The young master is acting like a madman now. Miss Cui's days won't be easy. If she suffers, If her stepmother suffers, then I will suffer less. As basin after basin of bloody water was poured out, everyone in the Xie household felt a sense of satisfaction. This was only the beginning. The 3-day post-wedding visit to the bride's family. Yu Mingyang, because I promised to wait for him until he recovered, had all the maids around him unveiled and presented to him. Since then, he's paid me special attention. A man who flits through the flower beds excels at winning women's favor. Those tender attentions, thoughtful gestures, they burned like red-hot irons, searing Xia Zhao in Cui Yunyao's eyes. Cui Yunyao had withered away. The former pride and radiance were now only the deep black shadows beneath her darkened eyes. Even when the legitimate mother touched her hand, she recoiled in shock. The legitimate mother naturally sensed something amiss. Under the pretext of discussing private funds, she took me and Cui Yunyao to the back courtyard. I was left waiting beneath a tree for a long while before Cui Yunyao emerged, her eyes swollen and red, standing side by side. I whispered in a voice only we could hear. "Sister, are you feeling unwell? Why is your gait so peculiar? Could it be that the crown prince was a bit too indulgent on their wedding night? When it comes to treating a wife with care, the young master could learn a thing or two from my husband. Though he has a reputation for womanizing, he truly dotes on me without limit. In the Yu household, I've never once had to establish rules. Even the palace's tonics, who knows how many times they've been sent to my courtyard. And yet, he still feels he hasn't given me enough. Look at this heirloom bracelet on my wrist, it weighs me down so much I can barely lift my arm." My laughter rang out boldly, each word striking Cui Yunyao like a dagger. At night, Xie Zhao tormented her beyond endurance. By day, Xie's mother forced her to stand for half the day as punishment. Only after resting did Xie Zhao's sister come looking for trouble. Her days were a living agony. My happiness only rubbed salt into her wounds, making her grind her teeth in fury. Seeing her ashen face, I stroked the imperial hairpin adorning my hair and smiled brightly. "So, whether you're legitimate or illegitimate, noble or common, in the end, none of it matters more than life itself. I was born for this life of wealth and privilege. No one can take it away." As if utterly unconcerned, I swept my sleeves and strode ahead. Cui Yunyao, seething with hatred, watched my retreating figure and crumpled her handkerchief in fury. Just as she had done since childhood, whenever I gained the slightest advantage, she sought to destroy everything I possessed. After the meal, Father invited everyone to the tea room. Her opportunity arrived. Father dragged Xie Zhao into a chess game. Every word he uttered was groveling, begging the crown prince to spare his precious daughter out of respect for their family ties. As for me, the illegitimate daughter, and Yu Mingyang, whom he looked down upon, he cared not a whit. A wife loves her own husband. Amid Xie Zhao's frequent, ardent glances, Yu Mingyang and I were happily fishing together by the lake. He was so flustered, sweat beading on his forehead. I gently wiped it away for him. Unable to contain himself, he planted a smacking kiss on my flushed cheeks. "Tomorrow, when the medicine wears off, your husband will pamper you properly. My precious she, how agonizingly I've waited for you." Though utterly disgusted, I playfully pounded his chest with my tiny fists. "You're so naughty, husband, saying such shameful things in broad daylight. I won't talk to you anymore." I pretended to walk away, but he pulled me back into his embrace. "Good girl. Let your husband smell you. I haven't touched a woman in 2 months, I'm nearly mad. Come here." He held me close, burying his face in my neck and biting down. Intense pain and the tang of blood spread through me. Yet I clenched my teeth, playing along with his twisted desires. My cheeks flushed with shame as I shot a defiant glance at Cui Yunyao. Seeing Cui Yunyao clench her fists in fury at Xie Zhao, I pushed Yu Mingyang away with satisfaction. If sister were watching, she'd blame me for being improper. Yu Mingyang, suddenly empty-armed, lost his temper. He snapped at Cui Yunyao with a sneer. What decency! You couldn't crawl into the prince's bed. But when the princess consort publicly tore your clothes and beat you black and blue, suddenly there's decency? Cui Yunyao drained of color, trembling violently as she met Xia Zhao's dark gaze. After all, while everyone knew Cui Yunyao had been slapped and stripped by the princess, Xia Zhao remained blissfully unaware. Yao, your husband is weary. Escort me to your former boudoir for a moment's rest. Cui Yunyao's face turned pale as she stammered her refusal. I'll have a maid push you there. After all, I still need to look after my sister and brother-in-law. Her pleading gaze turned to me. I shook my head with feigned concern. We're all family, no need for such fuss. Go quickly, sister. Yu Mingyang, eager for Cui Yunyao to leave so he could grope me, chimed in. Hurry up and go. All this fuss is scaring my fish. Xia Zhao swept his long arm around her, pulling Cui Yunyao into his embrace. Cui Yunyao shrieked repeatedly, her body visibly trembling. Xia Zhao, however, bit her ear and sneered coldly. What's this? Disobeying your husband? Want me to punish you? No. Then be a good girl. Don't cause trouble for everyone. Heartbroken, Cui Yunyao was pushed away in Xia Zhao's embrace. Yu Mingyang shook his head with disapproval. Though Prince Xia has lost 2 of his 3 legs, the remaining one is remarkably resilient, demonstrating his prowess in broad daylight. Then, his sticky, repulsive gaze settled on my chest. My dear wife. Husband! I softly, tenderly grasped the hand he extended. If you care nothing for our future peace, I shall follow your lead. Fearing he might ruin his health, he reluctantly withdrew his hand, muttering under his breath. Pretend to be some chaste maiden? Wait till I'm well again, and I'll make you cry for your parents. Half an hour later, a pale Cui Yunyao and a sated Xia Zhao emerged. Though she wore an expression of calm indifference, the speckled bloodstains on Cui Yunyao's skirt betrayed her. In the courtyard, a bucket of blood had been emptied. Little Bean whispered in my ear, and I understood. The young master is blessed, but his constitution remains delicate. He must take it easy. If he ruins his health, he'll lose everything. Yu Mingyang's mockery stirred no emotion in Xia Zhao. He only fixed his deep, intense gaze upon me. Sister Shi, don't you care about my health? As I wiped the sweat from Yu Mingyang's forehead, I casually replied, with your sister's care and affection, my lord needn't worry needlessly. Xia Zhao erupted suddenly, hurling his teacup before retreating into the pavilion. Cui Yunyao witnessed it all, her hateful gaze fixed relentlessly on me. She already knew Xia Zhao's resentment was directed solely at me. She blamed all her misfortune on me and intended to drag me down with her. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Cui Yunyao approaching. A smirk touched my lips, the show was about to begin. She stood silently behind us. But when the servants weren't looking, she reached out to push me. I swiftly pulled Yu Mingyang to my position. Amidst the gasps, everyone witnessed Cui Yunyao shove Yu Mingyang into the water. A spent force. Utterly defenseless, that was Yu Mingyang's hollowed-out body. Despite summoning the imperial physician, Yu Mingyang passed away amidst his family's wails. I remained silent until Yu Mingyang was placed in the coffin. Only then did I throw myself against it like a madwoman. Though I appeared bloodied and battered, my control over the force was precise. The injuries were visible, yet not life-threatening. After 2 days of unconsciousness, I slowly regained consciousness. With tears streaming down my face, I confessed to the Yu family. My sister resented that I alone found happiness. She blamed me, cursed me. It was my husband who suffered for my sake. I deserved to die. You should never have saved me. Let me join my husband in the afterlife as loving spouses once more. As the words fell, tears poured down my face. My expression conveyed utter despair, and even the last vestiges of resentment in old Madame Yu and Madame Yu vanished. Good child. You bear no blame. Your nature is a blessing for Mingyang. As for the Chui and Xie families, blood debts must be repaid with blood. The Yu family gritted their teeth, determined to fight the Chui family to the bitter end. The Chui and Su families mobilized their aristocratic connections to intercede with the Yu family. But the Yu family, themselves a distinguished lineage, held their own against the Su family. Why should they fear the Chui? Only the Xie family, riding high on the Empress Dowager's pregnancy, remained untouchable. Chui Yunyao was confined within the Xie residence, unable to venture out, waiting only for the Chui Yu lawsuit to conclude and restore her freedom. But Xie Zhao had already descended into madness, long since unable to let Chui Yunyao go. He was haunted by the memory of Yu Mingyang's kiss upon Chui Shi's face by the lake. That kiss became an obsession, tormenting him day and night without respite. Driven mad, he intensified his cruelty toward Chui Yunyao. He even branded her face with a red-hot iron. You disgraced her. She was injured saving me. How dare you dishonor her? Spoiling your beauty is good. Once your face is ruined, I'll marry you off to the stable hand at the estate. That way, I'll repay her debt, and she should forgive me. In Xie Zhao's bloodshot eyes, Chui Yunyao saw only the madness of tearing her apart alive. She remembered my words, such a cripple will never find peace until she dies. A woman's true fortune lies in promotion, wealth, and the death of her husband. Drawing courage from somewhere unknown, she pulled the hairpin from her hair and stabbed it into Xie Zhao's throat, pin after pin, until he bled to death. When the Xie family opened the door at dawn, they found only a room drenched in blood and Xie Zhao, cold as stone. Chui Yunyao, huddled beneath the quilt, had already lost her mind. It was him. He wanted to kill me. I was meant to marry into a noble family, to be a glorious mistress of the house, to live a life of triumph like my mother. I will be the mistress. I will marry into the imperial family. The Xie family collapsed, dragging Chui Yunyao into prison, with 2 lives on her conscience. No one could save Chui Yunyao now. Her father, too, fell victim to the joint accusations of the Xie and Yu families. Demoted to the southwest, he became a laughingstock in the capital. Overnight, he lost his beloved daughter and his future prospects. His hair turning white overnight. His legitimate mother could not bear the blow either. She coughed up blood and was confined to her sickbed. As a dutiful daughter, I arranged for servants to care for them when they left the capital. Though tended to, my stepmother remained bedridden, never to rise again. Day after day she endured humiliation. Hour after hour she suffered torment, no peace remained. I would not let her die. I made her witness her daughter's beheading, then live out her remaining days in agony, haunted by that indelible memory. Just as she forced me to witness my aunt's brutal death, condemning me to a lifetime haunted by demons. My father, naturally, never achieved his ambitions. Consumed by illness, he wasted away his remaining years. This life holds no other desire for me, only to chant Buddhist prayers for my husband until my dying breath. Day after day, I kneel in prayer at the suburban temple, truly living a life of purity and renunciation. Yet by night, I indulged in wine, women, wealth, and lust. Nothing was spared. And yet, I was flawless. Everyone praised me, the Chui family's daughter, for my compassion and loyalty. With the dignity of a noble house's matriarch and the inexhaustible riches of a noble family, I idly watched the flowers bloom and fade outside the courtyard. How many in the capital could compare to such a life? Until the night before Lin Yuer's wedding, Mother, you took me to the Lin family to add to the bride's trousseau. This time around, she married into a family of scholarly integrity. Though not as wealthy as the Yu clan, the man was gentle and considerate. Even before the wedding, he showered Lin Yuer with protection. The ladies and young misses of other families teased him. He'll probably be a henpecked husband someday. His face flushed crimson, happiness spilling from the corners of his mouth. It's simply love overflowing. No fear, only adoration. The wind was too strong, and a tear fell from my eye. Hiding in an empty corner, I smiled brightly. Look, someone else found happiness. Didn't they? So, you've come back too? Seeing the panic in Shui Yunyao's maid's eyes, I realized I had been reborn. Lin Yuer, standing behind my former self, held the bracelet I'd commissioned, her face streaked with tears. Only you knew my favorite style and design. I was speechless for a moment. The bracelet from my past life, this lifetime shouldn't have one exactly the same. So then, have you, as godmother, prepared the safety lock for my child? The end.